Stand clear.
100% Wild Podcast. So for all you listeners,
hello and welcome to
definitely not your favorite outdoor podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild Podcast, brought to you by DeerCast. This is episode number 329, and we've got Matt Drury, of course.
Tim Chelswick.
And we've got a special in-studio guest. We are cleansing the palate after our game show episode last week.
Who's our guest today?
And Michael Engelmeyer from Great Outdoor Studio.
That's right. So I don't know about cleansing our palate.
Doesn't feel like cleansing, but I'm honored to be here.
Pretty dirty.
I'm honored to be here.
It's not a cleanse. It's the opposite of a cleanse.
Too much history there, Matt.
Man. Well, he brought us venison. He brought us some elk meat.
Yeah, he walks in. He's got his son with him, and he's holding a couple pounds of ground and something else, a steak or something with him, and we're like, hey, what's this? He's like, well, go ahead. You take it from here.
Well, I mean, not to come in and just fire a couple shots over the bow, but it just seems like you guys aren't killing enough. So I figured this is what wild game is. That is elk from Colorado. Elk. That's out.
Yeah, that was a pretty good shot right out of the gate.
Since you guys don't kill anything,
Yeah,
that's what he said.
I actually think I did say that.
That's what
I
he
actually said. So you don't kill anything. I brought some.
Sometimes things are true, but you don't have to say them.
Yeah, that's why I said it before the cameras rolled. So, but you guys just brought it up.
No one will ever know.
Don't you call Taylor for that
person
recipe
you
on
are.
how to fix that?
How to kill stuff or how to make
in the
it.
kitchen.
Maybe both.
Yeah, that's right. I should take cues from her. She's always a killer. I am never.
You're a killing adjacent.
Time, I thought you were going to say.
That's also true.
I am
And
killing
money.
adjacent. I'm always next to someone who kills something, unless that someone is Scott.
Same. Scott! Poor Scott. He stepped in and did us a solid by being on the game show last week.
So what you don't know, because you probably didn't catch this episode,
Missed it.
it just aired. We did a Jeopardy outdoor version of Jeopardy where I was a host and Tim went against Scott. It was as good as you think it would be.
Yep, high production value.
It's as good as it sounds.
It's so funny because I literally opened social media. I saw you standing, and I kept it going. I was like, Matt's standing.
need this.
I don't know if I got to be standing.
He's wearing a sports coat and shorts.
You and 99% of people saw it, scrolled past it.
I'm sure it was awesome. I'll watch it right after
That's
this.
right. Yeah.
I don't believe that.
So you're in town in St. Louis. We've been trying to you and I have been texting back and forth for months about trying to catch up, probably actually years, about having you come into the studio while you're in St. Louis and shooting one of the podcasts. And your family's originally kind of from the area, right?
That's
and so
correct.
you still come to visit. Your brother's still around this area, so you come to visit from time to time. It just hadn't worked out up until today.
Yeah, it's weird with our schedule. We'll wind up in Dallas as much as St. Louis, and everybody thinks we're up here. But this sucker worked out today. I'm happy to be here. It's fun. You guys do a great job, by the way, despite what you say. You do a great job.
Thank you.
It's highly entertaining and informative.
Well,
I have yet to see the game show, but
well, you might take back all of what you just said.
I'm not saying this show
I
is going to actually be
shows
good.
in
I actually
general.
thought the game show was informative. I didn't know half the answers, which is why I was
Neither
the
did we.
host.
We didn't know them either.
Yeah.
We should thank our like Miranda Feigert. She turned in some questions. A couple of other of our Rack Pack members
John something. Yeah.
turned in some questions. So we appreciate that. And if you guys want us to do it again, send in some more questions and we may do one.
We talked about it afterwards. I thought once we got done filming it, I thought, boy, this sucked. and then I watched a little bit of it. And I'm like, you know what? It's kind of entertaining from the sucks perspective, entertainment, you know. And I thought we should do one during the rut, a rut related question, Jeopardy question. You know, and it could be fun. So every once in a while, we'll pull it back out.
Well, yeah,
dust
with
it
the
off.
listeners chiming in with the questions
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, it was good.
absolutely.
So-
Absolutely.
Well, while we have you in here, you know, there's a bunch of stuff we can talk about. We got a lot of history. So the background, you've been in the industry how many years now?
This is 30th year.
So you are based out of Springfield, Missouri.
Yes, sir.
And you've done a lot of work, obviously, with Bass Pro Shops and have a long history there with those guys. But in general, within the outdoor industry, you've done a lot of work for a lot of brands that people would know. A lot of the ads that you've seen, you know, in the magazines that you followed, especially 5-10 years ago, when that was a much bigger part of your business, that was you couldn't flip through a magazine and not see a Great Outdoor Studios picture, right?
Yeah, it was good for our ego, but as you're driving down Highway 44 and look up at the billboard, you never go, who shot that?
Yeah.
But it's good for us to
Yeah.
look at and go, wow, we're doing all this great stuff. We springboarded from Bass Pro, give them all the credit. Starting out, internship, get right in the trenches. There was only 2 people in the entire video production department, just a couple in the stills, and I kind of bebop between there starting out, and I learned the technical aspect of it, even though I knew I wanted to graduate and move on. From there, I came back to St. Louis, and I was starting to do stuff in Chicago, starting to do stuff in St. Louis. Very thankful for St. Louis, too, to help get started. And my true love has always been going back to the creek. My true love has always been shooting a bow, my true love. But I'm in the fashion industry, so I'm in really 2 different sectors. In the meantime, the archery rep industry was going really strong, and I got this great piece of paper. And I'm going through this piece of paper. I'm like, man, am I going to wind up in the archery industry, or am I going to wind up in the photography industry? Because neither of them are breaking that good. And my one buddy got a great rep job in the archery industry, and he gave me this piece of paper and it had Mark's name on it. And that is how we first connected, because I'm going through there. I'm like, Indiana, Pennsylvania, St. Louis, wait a minute. I'm like, oh, I know that Mark. So I just called him. I just called Mark. That was the very first. And he was awesome. I'm young. He's younger. And he starts steering me in the direction. And I'm like, okay, I think I can do this. So I start actively moving to the archery industry. And then what happens, of course? The photography stuff blows up. You get 1 client, 2 clients, 3 clients in a matter of months after struggling for a couple of years.
And what year, like around?
That would have been 94.
Okay.
94. So I got Champion Boats, which in the bass boat industry was kind of the Porsche of boats.
Sure.
Literally from just helping out somebody in a studio. And I knew the industry, and they kept hiring and missing on people to do it. They're hiring like the St. Louis Cardinals photographer, and they're hiring this. And I'm like, well, I kind of know how to do boats. The boats are very different. And she called me that night and offered me the whole job in somebody else's studio. So I cut him in 50% because I didn't even have gear. I didn't even have the stuff.
Can I use your camera?
So we're going to use your stuff. You'll be the assistant. Roles have flipped, but then all of a sudden the ball gets rolling. And then as soon as you get Champion, it's like getting Porsche. Then all of a sudden the other ones go, well, he's doing that. And then I thought, if I get one more client, I'm going back to Springfield, our alma mater right there.
That's right.
Is we're going to go.
Missouri State.
Yes, Missouri State at the time, Southwest, showing my age.
That's right.
Is we'll go back where all the lakes are, because I just kept commuting back and forth. At this time, the fashion thing was getting a little weird. I had to go to Milan. I had to go to Phoenix, which is okay, Chicago. And I'm not saying, I'm not judging, but it was getting a little bit weird in the mid-90s in the fashion industry. Watch the Versace documentary, highly recommended. And so,
a lot of cocaine.
Yeah, it's just didn't quite fit the lifestyle of where I wanted to see, and that is having a family growing up and hunting. It was very
opposite.
The exact opposite. I can't stress that enough on how opposite it was. But it was fun for what it was. Then I just literally, right after that, I had just woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, get up early, son. Get up early I got up real early and I drew up a business plan, and I was like, I know the people, I know the stuff, I know everything. And I drew out a boat, a fishing reel, a gun, a bow, a guy in a tree stand, and I had the name Great Outdoor Studios. And literally from that day, that moment on, I've been busy.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's one of those really weird things. Like I feel like a little predestiny right there, little. And it's been wonderful. The last couple of years, it's of course slowed down, but everything's pivoted. Everything's changed. DVD sales are different.
Yeah.
And you pivot.
Don't exist.
Yeah, by different, I mean don't exist.
Yeah.
But you pivot. You pivot and you do things.
So here's part of that. The reality is, as you were getting rolling, it's a small industry.
Right.
And so word of mouth, it's like, hey, we use this guy on this set and this, and it starts rolling that way. Like you get a lot of business from people that know somebody at another company that knows somebody at another company, and you become the guy. There's only probably a handful of you, right? 2 or 3 that everybody kind of went to. And so at that point, you're, like you said, you're rolling. But here, once DSLRs became so popular and so mainstream and a lot easier to run, then, because it was very technical when you started out. And as that became, it became more digital, and, anybody could pick one up. And then even from there, something as simple as the iPhone, as that's evolved, it's crazy how that changes the things that you guys do are the clientele that you use, because our industry is notoriously on the cheaper side of marketing.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe we could do this on our own, or Joe's son, Jim, he knows how to do this. Let's use him now. So once that happens, where do you pivot to on your business? Because I know for us, like DVD sales go away. Well, we had digital, we had social, we still have TV shows. For you, what is it?
I remember when, during that time, because I talked to your dad, and you and I talked quite a bit, is we're in this writing of the ship, where does this whole thing pivot as far as the imaging, as far as where stuff is going. And for us, it became extremely simple. Here's the photographer tip for anybody that's willing to do it or interested in doing it or crazy enough to do it, is it became all about gateway to entry. Is the more difficult the gateway to entry, the more we're embracing it. Okay. So automatically right out of the gates, we knew with all of the hunting shows that are flooding Outdoor Channel, Pursuit, and everything else, we knew that the cameraman sitting in the tree with the Sony is watching the sun come up. The leaves are perfect November, changing, backlit, really pretty. That guy's going to shoot the picture of those knocks or the boots and send them in, and all of a sudden we've got these vehicles to share imagery, and so we just thought that stuff goes away immediately. Is because I always felt it was ridiculous. I'd fly out to somewhere out west and shoot pictures, and I'm like, this isn't going to last because it's not that hard. But they were overwhelmed by the perceived technical aspects, which they were in the first. And definitely into DSLRs. It's not till really recently where it became very simple, more like an iPhone. So what we did is we pushed for the gateway to entry, meaning especially boats, which are highly technical. You have to have big budgets. You have to have big studios. You have to have tower boats. You have to have a lot of insurance. And for us, boats is where we started, and boats is kind of where we're ending, is because it's easy to screw up boats. You can't fake it. You have to have a ton of experience. A lot of the stuff where the backpack goes over the back and he's walking out of the woods, you're going to gather it. You're going to get it right then and there, and it's going to be good enough. You got a 48-hour shelf span, really, when you're running social, maybe 24. So you're peeling through things as opposed to the, quote, old days sounding old, where, oh my gosh, we've got this chunk of money. We're going to do these 4 ads. They have to exist all year. This catalog has to exist. So there's so much more weight on it. Like, it's got to be perfect. Now you just eat right through it. So for us, it was pivoting into the stuff that was extremely difficult, using our experience and those existing relationships. The larger the companies, the slower the change. And they value it. The budgets are there. And, you always felt bad if it's some guy who's developed a new choke tube for turkey hunting, and they want it to look great. And it was like, it's going to cost you a lot of money. Well, those guys, they're going to go away as soon as they can do it themselves. Absolutely. And likewise, we never wanted to do that. So
it's too small scale wise, and you would have a decent amount of overhead because you had a big building for your studio, and you go, like you said, you had all the insurance. There's a lot when you go to a company like yours. There's a lot to it, so you got to have a bigger budget to go after, to run after.
They expect it. So when the clients, and I mean national or international clients, when they call or they contact, they expect X amount of insurance. They expect X amount of things because they know that if they flood their people or fly their people, or everybody's got to have their hand in it, that they really, really want to make sure things are I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
And some of your bigger clients, like Toyota and some of the big boat clients, I mean, these are
Toyota,
big,
Yamaha,
big
Mercury. They're huge brands, and we're extremely thankful because they are very loyal. They're loyal and they're good people. Good people. A lot of people's perception is that the bigger the company, the more corrupt they are. And honestly, at the end of the day, a lot of them are good people and just as easy to work with as the smaller clients. And so we've been, like I said, we've been super, super blessed, and we do have really, really good clients and just want to keep servicing them. I don't see us retiring at all. And I don't even know if this is boring or not, but I don't see us retiring at all, but we'll just keep servicing clients till can't.
Zach, is this boring? We got a studio audience of one today.
How bored are you there?
Well, all right. So that gives us the good background.
Yeah, but that's background.
That's what I wanted to do. Now I want to get into a couple of the old stories from Mark and Terry, because there's plenty.
Yeah, he's filtering right now mentally.
I feel sunburn right here.
That's right. The pressure's on. Because I mean, you've been on a lot of shoots with those guys, especially early, like in the mid 2000s to 2015, probably through that decade, we did quite a bit together.
It was. Do you want to bring up these stories? Or
No, I'd like you to tell them.
That one's plausible deniability here.
The thing that so there's always this, at least there was this perceived intention of a Hollywood production, no matter where you're going, when cameras come out. It's like, people, the cameras are out. Now we just grew up with them. Like Zach, they grew up with them. But before that era, it was like the camera's out, people choke up, people lock up. And so there's always a lot of stress. We'd work with big ad agencies and they'd fly in and the really the best part, and I'd known Mark through talking. I'd known Mark, fellow St. Louis, fellow Cardinals fans, fellow all of this stuff. So you got that hometown connection. And they said, we're going to end this leg. We're shooting Babe Winkleman and Hank Park. We're shooting people all over the United States. And it was like 7 people in 6 days in 7 different states. It was like an insane thing. But we ended off here in Chesterfield. We ended off, and I'm like, oh, thank God we're going to end.
In the summer, right?
Dead of summer. And it was something for, and I probably shouldn't mention the old clients, but it's an optics company. And so, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a breeze. Get to end with Mark and Terry. And I showed up, and we were out on some Missouri river bottom. We were out somewhere, found some spot. And it's like walking into it, I'm like, okay, the heat's off. We've made it through everything. And those 2 guys were on 11. They were on 11 to haze me. And it was...
That sounds odd.
Yeah, I know that's a shock, right? God bless your guys' hearts. And so I'm getting it from both. And the client doesn't know that we kind of know each other. The client, and he's really kind of like,
what's happening here?
What the heck is going on?
Was it Chevalier that you were there with?
It was.
So that was the agency that Nikon always used at the time.
Out of Lake Oswego, Oregon.
Yeah.
So they had come in from Oregon. And like I said, I love those guys. But
who was it?
It was Robin.
Okay.
Robin. And so Robin, he's like, these guys are kind of hitting Mike with both barrels. And I'm just kind of rolling with it. And I'll never forget this. I had a tilt shift lens on a fancy, it's like that, and they're all balled up in an uncomfortable situation. Everybody's sweating. And at that point, and I hadn't said much, but Mark says, so why don't you, he starts giving me a little photography advice. Okay. and I stop and I go, here's an idea. I got a great idea right here on the set. I got a great idea. How about you focus on killing big deer and let me focus on taking the picture? And I thought the client was going to die. He's just like, oh my. And of course, Mark and your dad are dying laughing. And he's just shrinking into like our photographer just snapped on the celebrity. And I'm like, no, we know each other like that. And he's like, are you sure it's okay to talk to him like that? And immediately,
I'm not the only guy that gets away with it.
Your dad goes, I like him. And we've kind of worked together because it's the same thing. It's what you see, gang, is what you get with this crew. Is there's no airs. And it makes it fun and it makes it like family. It does. It does. And there's plenty more of those. Usually I'm the one getting hazed. That's what it historically has been.
Yeah. If you're not getting hazed, then you're not part of the crew.
That's true.
Man, we've had, you came out to, we did Dream Season Celebrity when we went out to Hadley Creek so long ago, and you came out for that. And I mean, there's been so many times you came out to, we shot here. We used to shoot for PSE all the time. Went out to Arizona, Tucson. I mean, there's probably 20 times you shot us, I bet.
A lot of fun history, and it was cool because the collaboration within the family allowed maximum creativity, and I think we did some just awesome stuff just by brainstorming over a couple margaritas or at Mexican, and that's the stuff that really makes it fun.
Some of that stuff that we did for, it would have been Nikon. That was where we came up with that kind of superhero look, wasn't it?
Yep.
Or did we rip that off of what we did for the DVDs? I don't remember actually now.
I think it was DVDs first.
DVDs. So we came up with you came here, we came up with an idea to shoot.
I think they saw it from us and then wanted to do it.
Yeah. We came up with an idea. One of our posters over here has it, where it was kind of like at the time it was
like a movie feature.
It was when Marvel really started blowing up a little bit.
It's when that first came out, because when I saw that,
I think it was Captain America.
It was Captain America that we sent it. And you said, let's do this. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how, but let's do it. Let's figure it out.
And it was, at the time, it was pretty cool. Of course, we always ripped off all of our ideas from mainstream, we weren't inventing anything.
Sure.
Well, I think that
in our industry, it was always ahead of everybody else,
I think that you guys were smart, and are smart very much in that you do not plagiarize and cannibalize within the industry.
We don't even watch what others do in the industry.
You do your own thing and you're inspired outside of it, and it's shown, and that's why you guys are so less affected than anybody, and it winds up translating into a leadership role.
It was we had some cool stuff that we got to do together though. The funnest thing that I recall is although the Hadley Creek thing was pretty fun with those celebrities in camp, because
especially when I knew like none of them.
Well,
I knew Wainwright.
Yeah, Wainwright. You took a picture of Wainwright and Tim Sylvia, and so they're all, how tall are you? 6'7", 6.
Well, yeah,
6'8"?
it was Tim, Sylvia, and Wainwright, I'm 6'8". They're about the same.
Yeah.
I mean, Sylvia's a monster.
Yeah, so we got a picture of those three and me.
Here's little Matt.
We're like setting our drink on Matt's head.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Well, the actually a funny story on that was, if you remember Aaron Lewis, lead singer of Stain, out of context, you don't think rock star, right? And of course, I was familiar with music. It was kind of drizzling, it was kind of raining, and he was last. There was like a police officer and maybe a guy that got back from the war, veteran?
A veteran, from the Drury team that were paired with him.
Huge respect, and we were just shooting the bull, and all of a sudden this guy comes walking in. He's not wearing the right clothes. Like that. And
Aaron was tough.
Yeah, he was a little tough. And I'm going, I'm focusing on the veterans. I'm focused on that. And I just didn't recognize him out of context. And then finally he's like,
this tattooed guy that smelled like weed.
Yeah. Like, are we going to shoot this picture? We can talk all day. And I'm like, okay, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Like that. And then I like text back home, and I'm like,
He's a rock star.
This is a client I can't speak to that way.
Yeah. The guy that is acting like a rock star is a rock star.
He is a rock star.
And he told me that on the phone once. The shows were airing, and he was pissed at the way he was being portrayed, which was just how it was. We were just portraying him how he was, and he's like, I'm not getting enough screen time and this and that. And I sat there and listened, I'm a 25-year-old kid,
sir.
And I was just sat there and listened to him, and he goes, I'm not trying to be a rock star, but I'm a effing rock star. And I'm like, all right, I'm not trying to sound like a rock star. I was like, yeah, got it.
Hard to argue with that, sir.
Well, and we're like, where's the tour bus fit into Hadley Creek? It's the first time the tour bus is out in the,
he brought the tour bus with him.
It was, that was...
I had to get hunting clothes and a bow for his driver, because he called me ahead of time. He's like, I want my driver to hunt while he's there. I'm like, okay, not on camera. So I had to get gear and clothes, fully outfit the driver. I remember his name was Dino. And so
I went on that tour bus, which was, thank God for autofocus, because I just walked in the tour bus and it was like Spicoli.
Contact high.
Yeah, it was very much. I'm not that guy.
It was fun. It was interesting. But the funnest I think time we ever had was filming the interviews for King of the Spring, the TV show. When we did that, 2012-ish, I think, 11 or 12, and. There too, at the time, we had a budget because Outdoor Channel hired us to produce the show. So we actually had a budget for once to kind of produce it a little more high end. So this is before drones were really mainstream. So we had to hire a helicopter out of Chesterfield here, and we put Aaron Bennett on the helicopter, and Aaron, because veteran and Marine, and at the time was filming for us, so we put Bennett on the helicopter with a regular hunting camera, and Bennett filmed the way up from St. Louis. And let me tell you, it was expensive to hire this guy to film from St. Louis to come up. And then Ingy got in the helicopter and was filming. You were trying at first, I think, with your DSLR, big long lens and all that.
Yeah, we had two cameras. Colton was there as well.
Colton, that's right. And it wasn't, for some reason, it just wasn't the look or wasn't turning out right. So you ended up using our hunting camera, and you filmed everything from our hunting camera.
Yep. And it looked good.
It looked great. Huh. And the crazy part was the videographer, the pilot was flying too low to the neighbors' farms, and we didn't give anybody a heads up, that we were doing this.
Like, what's happening?
And so we got the police called on us, the sheriff called on us, and sheriffs came out, and maybe a state route, I don't remember. And they came out, lights, going, and we had to land the helicopter. And of course, Terry knew the sheriff really well. And
it's at that point that they decide to ratchet up to the next level and go, okay, everything's okay. Let's start hazing them. And that's what happened too.
Yeah, they hazed you.
They hazed me.
Yeah,
exactly.
So Dad knew the guy, the sheriff, and of course he didn't. And Mike here didn't know that. And so they pulled a prank on you, right?
I walk in, I'm kind of disheveled, it's early morning, it's everything, and we're doing fairly dangerous stuff, low, and the guy says, who's involved in and I'm like, me, sir, and then he's kind of grilling me, and I remember sitting there, I'm listening to him, I'm like, and everybody's sitting around looking right at me. And
do I need a lawyer right now?
Yeah. And I'm like, man, I've done this a ton, and this is the first time I've gone through this. And then he started asking me questions about permits and flight paths and where did you file? And I said, sir, I'm the photographer. Like, I remember saying that, and people started laughing because I'm like, I have nothing to do with flight plan. I don't even know what a flight plan is. And he wouldn't let up to his credit. And then your dad started laughing. Then they started laughing. And then all the rest of the weekend, it was, I'm just a photographer.
It's a tough crowd to be around.
Very tough crowd.
And we tried. So you take it for granted now because these guys use our drones. They're so talented. You guys,
Right.
drones are such a now pretty easy thing and common thing for these guys to use, the videographers to use. And at the time, to get the kind of shots that we were wanting, like I had a certain vision of what kind of shot I wanted. I don't know if you remember, we were down in Booner Bottom, and Mark and Terry were coming up the top part of Booner Bottom, and we wanted the helicopter to come up out of the bottom and then fly over them as they're coming down. It was just, at the time, it would have been a really awesome looking shot. I think I'm in Hollywood or something trying to direct this thing.
It's their budget.
And now, that's an easy shot relatively to get, but man, with a helicopter and he's in it filming and kind of hanging out the side. I remember, I think you had a hunting safety harness is what you put on and hooked into the helicopter with.
That's right.
Hanging off the side of it.
A little hillbilly ingenuity.
That's how we did it.
A little Prusik knot to loosen it up.
How does a helicopter fit into the levels of intrusion?
Well, this is turkey season. Anything goes during turkey season.
Actually, wasn't there a complaint from somebody that was laying out or they were sunbathing naked or something? Remember there was a neighbor or something? That's where that just jostled.
And we really got in trouble because we scared the neighbor's cattle. That unintended consequence, and it really teed off some people, some of the neighbors, and so that's why the sheriffs initially got called out. But man, it was a fun weekend, and that show's still my favorite we've ever done. It just turned out really fun.
Very well done show. And the opener was cool. I do think, and I sound so old, and because you can't tell, but I do feel like when you see the old Hollywood or you see the helicopter shots, there is that same sort of feel to them that is different from the drone. The drone,
bigger.
The drone always does the same thing. They go up real high and then they shoot the straight down. They shoot those drone shots, but that sort of swooping stuff that we did on King of the Spring, it felt grand.
We were following the trucks with the Humvees on the back, and we were getting shots to be able to fill in to the entire production, all 13 edits. We had to get a variety of shots to make it feel like they were different scenes to help tie. Hey, Mark's in North Missouri, or he went to Iowa, or he's driving here, and there's a deadline. So this was filmed, I believe, it was filmed after we had shot the full season. So we shot all the hunting, and we knew we had a storyboard of how the hunting turned out and how the competition turned out, and then we had a storyboard of here are the helicopter shots we need to help, kind of dice in throughout. It was pretty cool.
It was really cool. The older I get, the less intrigued I am to hop in and do what we did, but I'm thankful that we did it when we did it.
We got a picture of the crew, the film crew, standing in front of this helicopter. I always see it in my memories. It pops up on Facebook every year. And the comment, you had some snarky comment on the post, and I said, "I'm just glad you didn't lose your head, about what we were doing or something like that."
Everybody
because he's standing there, and the blades are like by his by his head.
That and I remember Bennett rigged up like a GoPro on the outside of it, and I had just known a pilot like every year that those circles were real small on doing that, so everybody kind of knows everybody on the helicopter side because it's a pretty tight group, and they were all former Vietnam vets that flew. All of them were. They all had shrapnel, and I remember I think Bennett was rigging up that GoPro or whatever it was at the time with a little cable and the suction cup, and the pilot just kind of looked at it and he's like, no. He's like, that thing comes off, hits that, we're all down. And I'm like, yeah, get that off there. And then he rigged it up again, and actually he approved it, if you remember, because we actually did get footage.
Some GoPro, some cool shots from that.
From outside of it. But he just shot that down. I'm like, yeah, get that thing off.
I just felt like it was funny. I don't know why we did. I think it was so we could, because I don't know that we had an easy way of telling the pilot where to go.
Right.
So we just had Bennett drive down there, get in with him at like 4 a.m., and they flew up. It's like, Aaron, go down there.
Life changed real quick. He followed the highways up to your dad's place.
Yep.
He followed the highways.
That's right.
The life changes very, very, very quick.
Yeah, now you can just drop him a pin.
Yeah.
Literally in DeerCast, you
DeerCast.
can drop him a pin. So, yeah, fun stuff.
I don't know if it's interesting, but it sure was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun to be along on that ride.
What I'm always curious about, this is stepping over into the fishing side, is how you get pictures of the boat in the background and a bass jumping in the foreground, and you got a guy in the water. So like, how do you get those shots?
That is top secret information. Remember I talked about the gateway to entry?
No
that
one's
if anybody
watching.
can do okay, nobody's watching this. It's
So you're
math.
good.
It's math. Put
Give you a
math in the live
secret.
well.
That's fake.
Some form of stimulant in the live
bass are
well,
drugged.
and just you just drug up the fish. Now we actually kind of have it down to a science. It's a little weird. It involves a little Photoshop, but you are cheating for sure. You're not just sitting there. Well, Van Damme is, like
Got it.
Anytime now.
No, if anybody can pull it off, it is Van Damme because we actually have done it. We actually some of my favorites like Ingy, it's going to go, and then bam, you get
I'm
so
supposed to talk to him here in about an hour, actually.
yeah, he can get her done. Tell him I texted him about midnight last night. I'm sure he loved that. The seasoned guys that have done it forever can figure out how to do it. But if you're working with new talent, like you want somebody that's a model doing it, it's extremely difficult, and it winds up being a huge time suck if you're on a production schedule.
Are you usually in another boat, or do you have someone standing?
Starting a boat, I get in the water.
Okay.
Yeah, and it just
Likes to get
depends.
wet.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of the water. I take that back. There's a lot of places I shoot that I do not get in the water. Especially,
Florida?
it's pretty nuts down there. But I'll hang over, and what I'll usually do is take like a PFD flotation device, and I'll set it down, and then I put the entire rig on that. If I'm not using an underwater camera, if I am using an underwater camera, it floats, and that's what I use most of the time. And then we have poles and whatnots, and our crew has worked together for a super long time, so everybody kind of knows the drill and what needs to happen.
Sure.
What you do on a lot of that is you have a very short window of time because we can all choose to do something over again, but that fish is going to do what the fish is going to do. So cold water is huge, 55 degrees. Try to get that number right around 55. That's the jumping temperature. Warmer water, they roll over pretty quick. We don't like to kill any fish. We're pretty proud of the fact that if we get a jump or two out of a fish, we let it go. We don't want it belly up, and it's just we all care. That's kind of where we're all behind the fish, from Bass Pro on down.
Well, it's got to make a difference because you love the outdoors and you love the pursuit so much. That's also what you're shooting.
Absolutely.
So there's just a level of authenticity there. Because I got some kind of men's magazine in the mail, and it was a guy. The guy in the front was wearing...
What kind of men's magazine?
It looked like a vest that he had just bought from JCPenney.
Is that all he was wearing?
He was holding a spinning
takes
rod.
itself.
He was holding a spinning rod with the reel upside down.
Are we sure it wasn't a Zepco?
It was absolutely not a Zepco. But you look at stuff like that and you're like, no one that was there knew what they were doing. These aren't legitimate people.
It used to be huge, and that was what we always said was the basis for our business was the credibility, because as fanatical as creating imagery or art is the same thing. If not doing that, then it's just the same thing. The little kid chasing squirrels with a 22 so to have that hybridization was really unique at the time because there wasn't a lot of shows. And so clients would say, we want this to look this way. and they'd bring in guys that could light it and do it, but they didn't know. And so we shoehorned in there. I definitely saw it because I showed up to his studio and all the spinner baits were upside down. All of the baits were upside down. The guy's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, dude, we're flipping all of this because this is all wrong. He's like, please do it. And I'm like, man, there's kind of a niche there. And so all of a sudden you come from the fashion world, which is as weird as the day is long, and you shoehorn over there and like, well, here's a guy that kind of wears camo, but he's kind of not, but he knows all the technical stuff and he gets along enough with people to not embarrass us. And so
Who are they talking
then
about?
you've got a niche. That's how everything took off. And to this day, when that comes up, especially with older folks, they said, Mike, when we can see your pictures, we know it's your pictures. And that is like the greatest compliment that anybody, can have, same as the Drury stuff. It's just there's that level of authenticity and it is real. I think that's why we all hit it off right away. Honestly, I do.
So we went to Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin last year on vacation. And
Great area.
The guy that runs the resort is also a pro walleye fisherman. Dale.
Yeah.
So, I was on the website. We'd been there back in the mid 2000s, walleye fishing with him, and I saw one of your pictures there. He had your photo credit there. I was like, oh my gosh, I think he's all over the place.
Yeah, Dale's awesome. Dale and Karen are awesome. Great area. We just talked about going back up there.
Oh.
I didn't know you went up there. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Love it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Kayak. You like kayak?
All right, I'm gonna switch gears. So the one thing you kind of touched on it, you're big into the outdoors. That's your hobby in general. That's your love, right?
Right.
Fishing and hunting and
pickleball.
archery and pickleball.
Pickleball.
And
How
so
old are you?
This guy, he was on the Southwest Missouri State pickleball team, right?
Racquetball.
Racquetball. You guys were medalists or something, right?
3 years. World champions.
World
What?
champions.
Yeah. 91.
Did you know?
92. No.
No, you
No.
don't.
Many layers over here, Tim.
He's an onion.
Like an onion.
That's right. So the outdoor side of things, he's got a farm there in that area that you live, right?
Just north.
Just north. And producing some really nice whitetails down there. And, because you think about Southwest Missouri, anybody that follows like Dr. Grant Woods and the Proving Grounds, I think he's on Proving Grounds too now, like it's a tough area. It's rocky soil. You're not necessarily getting the nutrients to grow the kind of giants that you see in North Missouri or, Southern Iowa or those types of things. But I've always been fascinated with the management tactics that you've taken and what you've done with your piece of ground there to make it is what it is today, because that's not the average there. It's above average for that area.
Consistently above average.
So one of the things that I really enjoy were the scrape. Like you always have these awesome Reconyx videos of bucks hitting the ropes, the scrape ropes and all that. I'd like to go through some of that, because I was actually just talking to Tom Ware yesterday about he puts in a big post that he gets at a farm and home that's kind of got the oil and stuff on it, and he puts them in the ground and he said he puts them in front of every blind he's got, and he said deer just annihilate them every time. They just go straight.
Where's Tom?
He's got a few places. He's got a place not far from here. He's got a place in Illinois. He's got a place I used to have a place up in Iowa. So he has a few different locations. But I'm like, man, I can never get it to work. Mark and Terry do it, tree coys and stuff like that. I've tried everything. Scott's tried it. We can't get it to consistently hit. But you do, and have tons of video. And you got a really cool video where your shooter comes in, he's hitting it. You see an arrow, you see an arrow on the ground. The deer runs off, and then you see Mike walk by, and he shot the deer and killed it. So that was last year?
That was last year.
Yeah.
October.
So kind of take us through your strategy with that.
So I will take the strategy. And of course, as anything is, and I think anybody that's a student of nature will understand that not an expert, but an ongoing student, and always going to be an ongoing student to the day I die. But I'm fascinated.
Some are
by
D
that.
students, some are A students.
Some students go to the front of the class, and some
Hey.
Some of the principal's office. I'm calling sick.
But a lot of it became trial and error for me. And like I said, not a master, but it's just the fascination, the passion to be involved in it, and to go, let's try this, didn't work. Let's try this, didn't work. So the reason why I was asking about Tom is one thing I found with all my travels to the United States and you somehow gravitate, like Kevin's fanatical, is you get in different areas, even within Missouri, and you find that the dynamics of this deer herd behave very different than the dynamics of this deer herd. Same exact thing with turkeys. And so these governing laws get thrown out the window, and I'm always a huge non-governing law. They always do this. They do this. It's not real. It is not. That's not always. These suckers evolve a certain way to become familiar with this food or the optimizing. They're all a little bit different personalities. For me, the Mexico farm's a little different than the Herman farm. They're all a little bit different. Ozarks are typically, they're obviously smaller genetically. They're a little more skittish. They're dealing with thermals. It's just a different ball game. That's why there's not a lot of hunting shows of 170-inch deer in the Ozarks. Yeah. Every area to the south wants to say that their deer are the most difficult to hunt. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's just different. It's just different. It's still, at the end of the day, a deer. Trail cameras have taken a lot of the mystery off, the mysterious 30-point deer that has existed for 20 years that nobody's been able to kill. So you learn a lot through trail cameras. That's what I do. And I become a student, and it's time. There's no shortcuts. I don't think there's any shortcuts in the Ozarks. I think you get your cameras up. For me, what I found is I tried one of Mark's posts. They didn't relate to that as much. I had been pulling down branches for years and years before social media with rubber gloves and that kind of thing. And then I had found, and this just has worked for me all over Missouri, and maybe this is bad to say this, but I really don't care. If I wet down that scrape area, if I'm making a scrape, I just carry a bunch of empty milk jugs, fill them up with water, just water, and I rake them up so it smells earthy. And I have just as good a luck with that and save some money. So I pack a bunch of water in and just keep it moist, especially when it's dry. And then the cameras will show that they'll usually find it pretty quick. I think they've got an unbelievable ability to detect water, honestly. So I soak those really well. It's not like I'm putting deer urine or something specific into it. And maybe that stuff works great. So I'd been pulling down branches and doing that for a long time because you just watch dogs. You watch other animals, and they all do the same type thing. I'm like, okay, so let's amplify that. So you clear out, and I do go about 4 or 5 feet up and about 5 feet out is what I try. I found some old cedar posts, drilled 1.5 inch, angled holes to the top, sunk it in concrete. I would put testosterone. I'd play with things on that. Didn't seem like it really mattered. If it was in the right area, it did matter. That's the key. The key is if they want to be there and you're pulling them 5 yards, that's easy. If you're pulling them 500 yards to where you are, not so easy. That's one of the things that I found. Put them up, and it definitely seems that they're generational. And I learned something from you guys on that was October 6th, 2019. You better pay attention to October 6th, 2020.
If you see it on trail camera,
Absolutely.
they kind of follow those patterns. Yeah.
Because it's so hard to discern and put all the pieces together on Ozark's deer because they're not visible. It's like you might be able to get to a rare bean field plot and see what's going on in velvet, but they're not visible. As visible as northern Missouri and large blocks of open ag areas for sure. So I try to piece it together with trail cameras and running a bunch of trail cameras. And what I do is allot the deer, if I'm consistently going through a low impact area and I'm consistently bumping bedding deer, it's like, okay, this is what I let them tell me just by spending time out there. And then I don't penetrate too deep in with trail cameras. I'm really conservative, which may be to a detriment, but I will. It's not legal where we are now to use minerals where my farm is, and so I don't do that. But historically, they will repeat this time of the year because I don't have minerals out and they're tearing everything up right now. So I'll keep cameras on that. I don't do any bait. I don't do anything to entice them. I just let them kind of dictate it.
How soon will you put out cameras?
End of July.
Okay.
I don't get wound up just by the way that this particular farm lays. They don't spend that velvet season. The good ones don't. I'm surrounded by a huge river with river bottoms, and I know that that's most of the deer about 1.5 miles away.
So when do you start putting out those scrape ropes or whatever? What do you call those? Mock scrapes? It's just the ropes you put out. Do you put anything on those?
No, not necessarily. I don't. I have before, but I don't see any connection. I personally don't. And I'm not running Dr. Grant data. I'm not. Yeah. I'm just going, this one I lathered in forehead scent, and I know what it is. And this one I did not. I just hung it up, and they're going bananas on that one. Is that because it's a higher traffic area? Maybe. Or guess what? All the mature deer are on this one. And I have no idea why, but they'll find that one. And I've seen that time and time again.
When do you start putting those out?
August.
Okay.
I put them out in August. I put them out because, believe it or not, I have found open scrapes the second week of August. As a matter of fact, I was doing a Mossy Oak Gamekeepers show, on one of the very first Gamekeepers show, and we found one, a fully ripped open, and it was 100 degrees and hot and drippy. Branch was broken off, clearly in velvet, and I'm looking at it, and sure enough, that August scrape translated into the biggest deer we've ever had on the property. That was his turf, and he was there, and that was August. And you could smell the scrape. You could smell it. Yeah. So I just kept enhancing it. I screwed up, and I learned this from you guys. I screwed up as I played that deer way too safe. I could have killed him in October, but I was so ingrained in this October lull and this October, they're just moving at night. Trail camera showed I could have killed that deer in October. I did not. I held off to November. Huge mistake.
And now with cell cameras, you would have probably adjusted quicker.
Absolutely.
And it goes to your point. There are general principles that apply across the whitetail world, but there are usually exceptions.
Yep.
And there are kind of locality specifics that are sometimes contrary to what the general principles are.
So I know there's a product, is it Hodag or Hodag? Or there's a product where they have that rope, what's that guy's name? Jeremy something. Nice guy. I've met him a few times, and he's got a product that it's all ready to go.
Is it the stick springy thing?
No, that's a different guy.
Okay.
That's a different thing. This is the actual rope and what you would need to, attach it and all that stuff. So
what we saw.
It's the same guy that does the, he helps train the dogs, like shed dogs.
Oh, it's not docking, is it? Docking?
I don't think so.
Super informative guy. Talking.
Anyways,
it doesn't matter. But what I did learn for sure, sounding like I'm from St. Louis for sure, is that thicker rope and that thicker hemp rope and leaving it outside. I do think there's something to that. And knowing what I did now is I wove that together, and it did get caught in the deer's antlers on that one video.
Yeah, we got to make sure we put that up for this podcast.
And so I learned a little something. I think zip tying a big fat hemp rope where you can order it, letting it sit outside so it just doesn't smell like a store or something, even though, I've had some pretty crazy stuff on I've put crazy stuff and just put cameras to see how they react to it. Some of them very negatively. Some of them, they just don't care. I have always looked at dogs like yellow black labs. I've always looked at them. This one is going to work its butt off and be dead serious. This one's a goofball. And I think that's just what I've seen with mature deer is some of them are just kind of dumb after a certain age. And some of them, they're edgy, and they've been edgy, and they're edgy when they're young, and they're edgy when they're old.
We know guys like that.
Yeah. But so what I'm saying is, I don't think there's any all-encompassing things. I think some are like curious, and some mature deer are like, nope, I'm out of here. Yeah. But like I said, I don't have all the answers, but I do think that if I do that again this year, I'm going to use the bigger rope just so their antlers don't get caught in it, because they related to it heavily last year. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, you had some cool videos. So I want to do it this year.
I'm doing those on persimmon trees, and I'm doing those on when we clear a plot. I'll leave a tree where I know there's high traffic area. It's just like turkey hunting. I'm kind of putting them where they want to be anyway, making it better, enhancing it. I don't think you can, because I've had very bad luck just throwing something like, I want to be here. It's easy for me to get in and easy for me to get out, but the sign's not there, but I can hunt the stand all the time. I'll put one of those attractants up, and it just doesn't play out.
Sounds like my spots.
When you start to really kind of break down and analyze your own hunting spots based on your convenience and maybe your own perception of how that stand is hunted in the past, like that's an important thing to do, because we are, as much as deer are driven by convenience, so are we.
Yep.
And a lot of times those Venn diagrams don't match up.
Well, and to your point, Tim, and this is one of the, we're getting so much more educated as a consumer. We're getting so much more educated as a fisherman, and especially with the new electronics and the new stuff going on in the fishing world, but also in the hunting world, is you're able to combine all of this experience onto something on your phone, and it's just leapfrogging. But one of the things, to your point, that I really noticed is when I was younger, I micro-focused on a property. And I'm going, well, there's a little hill here and there's a hill here. I can put a stand here. That's the funnel. It's not till you go to Google Earth or DeerCast and you zoom out and go, oh, my property is nothing but a couple steps in this deer's day.
Yes.
And that changed everything because you hit a lot of bad
More
spots.
macro than micro.
Definitely. Being able to sit back and go, okay, there's a 100-acre cornfield right here, and there's this. That explains that. Yeah. And that's something we can't just. A couple of years ago, it was Terra Server. You're all day on there trying to figure out what's going on the neighbors, and so I think that definitely changes it. To your point, I do.
Yeah. Got to get out of our own heads.
Yep. Well, Tim, should we jump into some real wild clips?
Let's go with the real wild clip. So this was from one of your buddies submitted this to us.
Hi, friends.
Well,
Was it Mike?
someone that you know at least.
Okay.
So
Did I approve the clip?
This is one of these gobblers that I have never encountered. I would love to encounter a turkey like this out hunting, but this is a gobbler attack in suburbia.
All right. So let's see this real wild clip of the
Powered
week.
by
Oh,
Silencer Central, and there's a gobbler there on the grass by a street. He's approaching.
Look at that foot.
And he keeps coming. That's not a small gobbler. He's probably 5 feet away from this guy. And Matt, you'll have to help me out with your buddy's name. I don't remember offhand. But he's trying to drive away, and he's got the phone hanging out the passenger side, and this turkey is running along the street, running this guy off. That turkey will not quit.
Tim.
That's unreal.
I'll be honest. I don't remember who sent this to me.
That's all right. We'll put it in the show notes.
I'll be honest, that bird's got some hooks too, by the way.
Yeah, where is this bird when I'm out turkey hunting?
Oh, okay. This is Spencer Brown. This guy. He's with Pfister Faucets, and they do those American plumbing stories with Craig Morgan. Yeah, pretty cool. So, anyways, he said he was at some sort of vendor or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, the thing just started chasing us.
He shot this.
Yeah, he filmed it on his iPhone. So pretty cool. Yeah.
The thing looks like it's seen some activity.
Yeah.
He is an old warrior.
Look at it. It's got something stuck in its.
It looks like it's got a deformed foot.
It does. Look at it. Its right foot. It's got a deformed claw there.
Check out that spur on that side.
That's why he's got the pimp walk.
Right? He's humping along there. But the interesting thing is, like, if you were to see that gobbler in the woods and you blink wrong,
Oh, yeah.
sitting up against an oak tree,
Yeah, here you
he's
can't
gone.
get rid of him.
Yeah. Why is that?
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Kind of drives you nuts. That's real wild.
Brought to you by powered by Silencer Central.
That's right.
Have you messed with silencers or filmed any?
Yes and yes. They
Yeah.
were a client. One of them was, and absolutely love everything
Pretty
about
cool.
them. Love everything about them.
Pretty neat.
Except for the process to get them. But
The
that's,
process is that's where Silencer Central comes in. They have streamlined the
streamlined
entire
it?
process. Yeah, you just
Kudos.
instead of having to go to the government and do all the paperwork, you go straight to them, and they help you every step of the way.
Bless their heart.
And even if you have a gun that you can't,
Right.
screw
Isn't
a silencer
threaded?
on, it's not threaded. You could send it in, and they thread it. That was only like a week and a half, 2 week process. and
Where
we got
are
the
they
guns back.
located?
South Dakota?
South
or
Dakota, I
something
think.
like that?
Yeah.
So do you just have to send the barrel?
Yeah, you can.
There you
But
go,
I
Zach.
sent-
There you go.
Like my rifle, I sent my whole rifle.
I would
But
send
you
all
could
of my
send-
guns. Honestly, I'd send everything in.
I mean, I'm sure Mark sent probably 3 or 4, and Terry sent, 4 sent 1. I sent 2, I think. So
I was huge introducing Zach and our kids into hunting on the noise canceling earmuffs because I think that is really what freaks out kids when
Oh,
you
yeah.
My daughter.
Mine for
case in
sure.
point.
Yeah.
is you put them in a blind and have that ported barrel slightly inside, and they don't want to go again. They remember that.
it's
So
they like shooting a 22. But once you step up to the next one, it's like, it's kind of loud, isn't it? It's like, let's put the Walker's game ears on. But to your point, you add this level to it. Like Brian Weiss, he's one of our team members on Critical Mass, and he hunts with silencers, Silencer Central silencers, all over, Nebraska and, I think South Dakota, and he a lot of mule deer hunting. And the guy is an unbelievable shot. Like, it's always a 300 or 400 yard shot that those guys out west, they are amazing because that's nothing for them. And I'm always like 300
Might
yards.
as well be on the moon.
Yeah, like
where I am, if you
let's
can
stop at
see
150.
300 yards, you can't. There's nowhere to even shoot that far.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah,
I love it. I love the silencers. I think they're I don't know why.
suppressors.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
there
the
you go.
suppressors.
So, Mike, some parenting advice. If your kids have gotten gun shy
Not your kids are old.
If you can conjure up a mixture of anger and disappointment towards them,
yes.
that will push them towards performing.
to perform and ultimately coming back in 10 years afterwards. Dad, you never loved me.
No, you didn't deserve it at the time.
Yeah, you didn't deserve
I've
it.
learned to love you.
You got to work for the love here.
Jeez.
It's been tough.
Yeah. All right. Question of the day.
This guy's deal.
I don't know. Question of the day is from the Rack Pack, actually.
All right, so the question of the day is proudly presented by Victory, the carbon arrow experts. It's that time of year where I see guys like Forrest on social media. He's starting to fletch his arrows and everything, and
It's so much fun.
He did a video for us for Victory, and I watched it. I had to approve it the other day, and I was like, damn, he knows a lot about, like, I have zero knowledge on the spine alignment and the degrees on how he turns his fletching and all that.
Someday I'll bring the fletching
I know
jig
you have a
in
jig, right?
and,
Yeah.
and the arrow saw, and we'll build your own arrows here at the studio.
It's so much fun. It's rewarding.
Yes.
Okay.
More so when you kill something
Sounds
with
like
your own
something I don't have
arrows.
time to do.
Well, you could supervise.
That I do have time for.
I was present when they were built. That counts, right?
I watched it get built.
It's shake and bake, and I helped.
Years ago, I got really wound up on building my own arrows, but you're kind of
yeah.
poor in at the time. And I'm kind of like, yeah, this will work. And I got the jig and I got everything. And I had hunted the entire season, a little bit rough. This is late season. It was really cold, and I was in the tree. There's my arrows in the quiver, and I'm knocked up. And
All your fletchings are falling off.
Literally.
Oh,
True story. True story. I'm looking down, and it's not what's knocked on. I'm looking down. I'm like, is that coming up? And I touch it, and it's like,
dink.
it was like Cousin Eddie in Christmas Vacation. They all,
Yeah.
And I went to my quiver, and like, dunk, dunk, dunk. I had all shafts, one fletching stuck on.
Got some bad glue.
Yeah, so there might be some knowledge on that part because I learned
There's a learning
lesson.
curve.
There's a learning curve. Very rewarding, though, man.
So, yeah, I'll take your word for it. So, what's the question? Who's got the question this week?
Joey Mitch.
All right. So, Joey, man, he's brought in from the Rack Pack. Are you in the Rack Pack? Our little Facebook
I'm sure I am.
group?
Yeah.
Positive.
I think you
I'm
are.
the
Actually.
leading-
He is.
I'm the
You've
leading
commented.
racker.
This.
I'm a real packer.
Yeah, I'm a real packer. Take it south, Matt.
All right, so he says, who was the original narrator for the Bo Madness show? Okay. I replied to his question in the Rack Pack, but for all you losers that aren't in the Rack Pack, we'll just tell you the answer. So his name is Mark Dotson, and the crazy part, this guy was a character.
Yep.
And you commented, or you sent me a text after you saw that in the Rack Pack, and you sent I guess it was a video.
It was a
maybe.
little video.
So, anyways, I didn't know you had worked with him also.
Years ago.
Yeah.
Years ago.
So he's a voiceover guy. So at the time we put out a and I don't even know where we would have. It could have been Craigslist at the time, for all I know. I don't remember where we put the
And the
listing out there
misconnections.
for a voiceover guy. And we had just switched. We started the first few years. It was at the time the editor's wife that was working on the show. She was doing it, and we parted ways. And so we needed a new voiceover guy. And I wanted to go the exact opposite direction. I wanted a more gritty, kind of deeper.
In a world where
That's
Matt
this guy.
Mark Drury
That's
That is
literally-
this-
That is
Huge
this guy.
Whitetail.
That's right.
You've literally heard him thousands of times.
Yeah. So the cool part is he also voiced, it says here, Salacious B. Crumb, the Kowakian monkey lizard
That's
owned by
the little-
Jabba the Hutt. Oh, man. Okay. Is that... Oh, Joe's, because I got a version of that too. He framed up a picture for us, the studio guys here. So he was in Star Wars. He also worked. He also voiced. This says Ewoks and Gremlins. So he was in the Gremlin movies. He
Right.
was. I mean, this guy. Now that's some of the kind of the off the wall stuff because I saw in your video that you sent me to come up with the voices for Star Wars. He just came in and the producer just said, do 20 minutes of strange. Weird,
Like
odd
a monkey
sound.
lizard
Yeah,
voice.
just do just gibberish, really. And he just did a bunch of weird voices, and the producer or whatever cut them together far the voice of that character. But in general, he had an unbelievable voice, real
Absolutely.
gritty, dark, kind
Deep.
of Marlboro, sound like he smoked, which he did. Yeah, he had a few personal demons in his life, but he was a character. He was a character.
Well, yeah, lights out reading the stuff.
Yeah.
It sounded great. Everybody wants his voice too.
Yeah.
That to me is the lesson of the kid that gets maybe picked last on the playground for kickball that totally succeeds. He was over there doing all the weird voices all the time and crushes it. Because I think we used him for a big motor company, and he came in and bang, 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 nailed it out, and just, you wanted a little more inflection, And I'm like, God, that guy's a master.
Yeah. Yeah, he's very talented.
I didn't even realize that he did your stuff. I mean,
yeah, for years he was the Bo Madness voiceover guy. For years, it got to a point where we were kind of struggling to get him to send in a timely fashion, and we were always
probably distracted by Star Wars.
We were always late on our deadlines, so it was like, all right, we can't be late on our deadline and be waiting on this voiceover.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
but be careful. The kid you pick on at school could become a monkey lizard at some point in his future.
A gremlin, Tim.
Hey, kudos to him.
Yeah,
incredible work.
Pretty cool. So yeah, look him up, Mark Dotson.
So technically, Drury Outdoors got him started.
No. Star Wars was first.
Maybe there wouldn't be a Star Wars without Drury Outdoors.
Certainly, I'm a fan. My son and I like them. All right, what's next?
Wildlife Word. It's brought to you by Sportsman Channel, your home for Winchester and Drury's natural born and earthing red, wild, and blue.
All right.
Okay, we're out in the woods this time of year, hanging stands, putting trail cameras out and trying to avoid ticks. A lot of us use permethrin to treat our gear and our clothing. Permethrin, the insect and tick pesticide used to treat clothing and gear, is based off of a compound in this naturally occurring item. Is it A, chrysanthemums, B, June bug exoskeletons, C, praying mantis saliva, or D, wolf spider venom?
We always let the guest go first so I don't look silly.
I think I know this.
I think I know this.
Wow.
On the count of three.
I feel like we should be standing up. Okay, count of three.
1, 2, 3.
A.
Hey, look at us.
We did better than the double kill. Remember when we counted the double kill and you pulled it a little bit quicker?
Well, didn't we have a couple doubles?
We did. We had two.
Yeah.
Matt
You and I had
shoots
two.
on two.
So he would.
Yeah, exactly. He goes, let's count it down. I'm going to count down 3, 2,
Pull.
boom.
Pull. You would count, I would shoot.
We should ask Aaron Bennett.
3, 2, boom.
So we had one. We would always plan these photo shoots around spring turkey season so that we could then turkey hunt together.
It's a work trip.
So we shot Kilmer. Remember, we went out with Kilmer one of his farms one year, and Kilmer is such a character. He pulled up. He had at the time this van, and it was as bad as it sounds. And it was just no seats in it. There was a bucket for the passenger side and nothing in the back. And pulls up, and he's like a half hour late, And you open the door like, we'll drive.
Seriously, you can see the floor. You can see the ground.
Yeah, we'll drive today. But yeah, we doubled up there, and then another time, Chris Comstock and Dylan, the camera guy, Dylan was working for Terry at that time, and
that was the year of the reaping. That was the year of the fan. That's when we first, hey, this is working.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Because we were out in the open.
Yeah, we were on a field there on Terry's property, and it was freshly planted, maybe beans or something, and
yes,
and a couple, 3 or 4 longbeards came up, and you had the fan, and.
Yep. I was packing the bloody fan because I think your dad killed one the day before, maybe.
Maybe so.
It was very.
And we just put our guns through them, and we weren't like creeping after them. We were against the timber there, but
use it like a little blind.
Yeah, it totally worked. I mean, they come screaming in.
They did. They did not have. That was like, whoa, that's legit.
It was a pretty hunt. Fun.
I knew about the fan and stuff for a super long time, but it feels like, okay, let's be the dumb guy, put that on the tombstone.
Yeah.
We're going to poof this out and go after him.
Yeah.
But we didn't go after him. We just had to sit right there and poofed it out.
That was all it took.
And they were locked. They were kind of locked up at 100. They're kind of milly and snapped that thing out.
You started doing that with your hand.
We just kind of playing.
And you called them in with it.
And they just dead run, and then we 3-2'd them.
Man,
As long as you both shoot early, it's no big deal.
hey, they're both dead.
Yeah.
They did.
I was the lesser of the shot, so, meaning I'm not as good. So let me go first. You hit the runner.
That was
He's
fun.
batting cleanup.
That's right. So we
Well-
had some good times.
Well, you guys were both right on that, by the way.
Well, of course.
Chrysanthemum extract.
So I knew this. This is nerdy. Actually, through a client. Can I say Thermacell?
Sure.
Great product. Great. It heats it up, and I'm like, "What is that? Are we sniffing poison? What is
Yeah.
that?" And the biologist explained what it is, and I'm like, "That works one for them. Chrysanthemum. I got to plant those chrysanthemum." And then the permethrin, for
That
dogs.
does seem a little more toxic than the Thermos.
It does, doesn't it?
I don't
You're
know.
not supposed
I
to
use
drink
it. Don't drink it. Don't
You're not
inject
supposed
it.
to put it on your skin.
Tastes
I
like
know that.
garbage.
So,
The first time I sprayed that, I was doing my turkey hunting.
it works though.
It works
Boy.
great.
Yeah.
It rose in the real tall ceiling in the where I was spraying it, and I was starting to feel stuff in my hair on my back.
misting?
It was the moths up in the lights
they're
dying and falling on me. And I'm
Holy
like,
crap.
That's legit. Put it outside first.
So we
death
should have done
here.
this outside.
Yeah,
Wow.
we should have done it outside.
All right.
Dang.
All right, Tim, what's next?
I do like to think about a bunch of praying mantises getting like harvested for their saliva.
Milking them,
Come in
milking
here.
mantises.
Yes. All right, Danny Cash on Facebook. He just joined the Rack Pack. He said, I like how casual but still informative the episodes are. Also, how Matt and Tim are modest about what they know and how much more they have to learn.
So he's saying what they don't know and how they like to
bunch of
talk about
dummies.
what they don't know, which
right.
is honest. Tom Ware was telling me that yesterday. He called me up, so we had to go over some stuff, and he was like, I listen to your podcast when I go for walks every day. He goes, I really get a kick out of how you guys just kind of make fun of yourselves and what you don't know. It's like, thanks, Tom.
We can't pretend. We're not sophisticated enough to pretend.
I can't act.
Doesn't do any good to pretend. And there are plenty of people who do pretend.
So shout out to Tom Ware because he's the man.
He
He's
does
a
know
killing
his
machine.
stuff. Holy cow.
That I think that you're dead on, and I think that is why it's relatable. And if I call it the archery shop mentality, is there's two people that are talking about bow hunting, and then as soon as you put the table in between where they're behind the archery counter, then all of a sudden they're the master. You guys don't come across like that. It's just visiting and telling old stories.
Pretty evident when you don't kill anything.
Sorry, I'll take the meat back. I didn't realize I was hitting so
No,
hard.
we need it.
Do you have any more, by the way?
Yeah.
Sure.
This is the year, Tim. We're changing it.
Let's-
What I
we
find
had a
funny
good-
is in the Rack Pack, everybody acts like we've never killed anything. And I'm like, it was one crappy year.
Two bumbling
I killed
idiots.
3 the year before, 3 the year before that. It's like, come on. I'm like, it's,
Right. Yeah, I was
one
going to
bad
say,
year.
didn't you have a great year? It was
It's
2
been
years
a
ago.
while.
No, it was
been a
2
minute.
years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they've been good years.
The difference is, I think, that there aren't very many people in the outdoor media space who are as openly frank about their struggles as we are.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like Adam Wainwright, good buddy. We were talking about him earlier, having a horrible season, just a pitiful season. He's 42. All right. And he's already said he's retiring this year. Something's going on with his shoulder. He's having a shitty year. So everybody's lighting him up. It's like, well, the guy had 20,
done okay
or
for
8,
himself.
17 other great seasons, but you're only as good as that last one,
That's
man.
American
Yeah.
social media
That's
right
right.
there.
Yeah.
So-
Let's just focus on that.
We had great turkey seasons.
Yes.
So,
We're already starting the year off with a bang.
100%.
Did you guys had a bunch of turkeys this year?
We did.
Ours bounced back too.
We
Last
did.
year was
Yeah.
I had a
horrible.
great.
Mark
I
did, Terry
saw
did.
and heard a lot.
Same.
Good.
Same. So, all right. Last but not least, we're going to welcome in some new Rack Pack members. You are a member because you've seen these posts that we're talking
I'm the
about.
guy. I
You're
love the
guy.
rack.
Yeah, thank you.
The rack's
And
great.
the pack.
The band, the pack. I'm that guy. I need a shirt.
I love the rack. And then on the back it says, mostly the pack.
Done.
We need to get Rack Pack branded fanny packs.
Oh, that's where you went too far. I don't know that that's a seller,
Rack
Tim.
Pack fanny pack.
That nylon, real shiny
It's
nylon.
a
Blue,
fanny
hot
pack.
blue.
It just says rack, and then it's on a pack. It's
Yes,
gold,
let's do
Jerry. All right, so every week I list out some new names that Tim provides me. Every week there's a fake name on here. All right, we got range then draw. I think we're starting with the fake name this week. Jaron Johnson, Danny Nash, Archie Felder. Archie spelled oddly. Archie Felder. Okay. Scott Shively, Peter Gazinga, Bazinga. Taylor Lee. Titus Diner. Titus, that's a
You
name.
say these names like they're questions.
They're all questions
Matt
for me.
Drury.
Kevin McKim. He's got 2 names. 2 first names. Isaiah.
Dad said never trust anyone with 2 first
Yeah,
names.
Isaiah Brom. Oh,
Isaiah.
got through him.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, I think range then draws the fake name.
Yeah, it's legit. It was actually Danny Nash.
I'll never get old, Tim.
Sorry. Or funny.
Either. Yes.
Mike, how do people follow you on social?
Oh,
boy.
Great Outdoor Studios
I
on
don't know.
Instagram. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't run it. I
Social.
don't pay attention to it.
Great Outdoor Studio on Instagram.
Great Outdoor Studios on Instagram. I think it's Michael Engelmeyer, Great Outdoor Studios on Facebook. And then, of course, there's MJ Ingy.
Your personal,
That's
yeah.
personal. And then just my name, Michael Engelmeyer on Facebook.
Okay.
They're all kind of
Good
the same
luck
things.
with the Engelmeyer spelling.
Yeah.
As
Just-
Tim butchered it on our show
Great
sheet.
Outdoors is the easiest, but we try to actually we rebelled against it for so long because you're too busy actually doing work, and but now we're making active efforts just to put stuff up over the
Hey,
years.
you
We'll
know,
probably
Only
put
10
it-
years short.
yeah, just 10 years off.
Lance Kruger
Gotta
said the
catch up.
same thing when we had him on a few months back because he's a professional photographer and he
Love his deer.
resisted giving away his content on social, but it came to the realization that this is where everyone is.
Right.
So it just makes sense to have a presence.
We're a little stuck, and I love Lance's deer pictures. They're gorgeous, and they're giants, too. He shoots some great deer, but we're a little bit stuck because contractually we really can't show anything
Yeah.
for
Sure, yeah.
especially on some of the top secret stuff.
Yeah.
So it might read 2 years. And then I'm going to go, wait a minute, time out. There's a picture from 2 years ago. We got to dig through the hard drives and pull it out. So during the slow time, Sandy that works for me, it was we just started paying attention like, oh, that's some cool stuff. And you kind of pull stuff and set it in the queue and just to get it out there, if anything, just to remember. And we have enough family and people that like looking at it.
I think you'd be better off if it was more not about your end product. It was more about you, meaning following the shoots, the behind the scenes stuff, which I know sometimes you can't show what you're shooting, but you would still be able to show behind the scenes stuff and, dig into maybe some of the gear and the settings and, you're going to hit a niche obviously of the type of person, but I think you'd be better off showcasing the personality than the imagery, and the imagery is just kind of a byproduct, right?
I think that you're probably right. There's There's a weird humility at play, I think, of being cut from the old school as the guy sits in front and talks on a podcast. But it's just sometimes I go into a zone, so it's like they shoot all that things all the time.
You got to have somebody, Zach, somebody that's following
taking a
you.
selfie of.
Yeah, so,
You got to have
shoot
somebody
this.
following you around and just kind of shooting it.
Right, and they do, and there is, because we get to do really, really cool stuff, and we have a lot of it. It's just at some point there's a decision that needs to be made for me going, you know what, today I want to show me. And it's just a little weird.
Oh, I get it. But you're a character.
Well,
People like characters. They like following characters, and you're a character.
I'm not so sure.
What was our text message the other day? What were we talking about? Somehow, I'm not going to get into
We
it.
throw it up as B-roll. Just
You're like, oh, gee, thanks.
Probably.
I called you. What was it? About meth.
oh,
You look like you're on meth because you're so skinny.
that's nice.
He goes, oh, gee,
Is
thanks.
that a backhanded compliment?
It just
It
comes
was
from
not even a compliment.
no.
was
It just comes from left field right there. I'm like,
you look like you got a
I
tapeworm. Nice job.
basically said it was going to be
It
a
was-
very different podcast. He was going to come in here and drop the hammer.
It was
a lot of hatred.
It was done with love. I can tell you that.
A lot of love.
Pretty sure it was done with love. Huh. Let's see here. Oh, gee,
There's a little
thanks.
Tim Sylvia left in here.
Dang.
Matt Drury.
No.
I don't know. They're always
many.
entertaining. I will say that.
Too many to go back on here.
Well, we are, while you're looking for that, we are on a march to hit 2,000 Rack Pack members.
I always thought you had a skinny meth look about you. You go,
Oh.
gee, thanks.
Oh. Yeah, where are you supposed to go with that?
Yeah. Gee, thanks. Matt,
The conversation stopped for a while.
it's quiet. I was over there licking my wounds.
Yeah, that'll do that.
Then anger built up. So you roll the cameras and you see the Tundra pull up. It's gonna go down.
If you get a compliment from any of the Druries, you just know there's something in there.
Well, there's gonna be a hook
There's
on
a
the end of it.
yes.
There's gonna be a hook on the
You're
end.
getting
It
set
doesn't
up
end
for
there.
something.
We have a friendship. That happens with Mark and Terry. So we're just talking like buds.
Exactly. We commonly joke to refer to each other as meth addicts, and it's part of the deal.
Hey,
That means true love, Matt.
That's right.
That's what that is.
That's right.
Well, now we've just alienated like 90% of our audience who does meth.
Yeah.
And listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
It's a safe space.
I don't think so, Jim.
Hey, I don't agree with anything these guys are saying.
Well, this is a joy.
Sorry.
Honestly, I do appreciate being involved. You guys are doing great things.
great
I've
to
always
have you
done
on.
great things.
Yeah, thanks for submitting all the real wild clips that you have. The coyote
Yeah, like we get a lot of
encounters
social media content from Mike.
I've got a ton. Like sometimes I send that.
Yeah.
It just sits there. You guys are more than welcome. Some of it I think is really super interesting.
Now he's sending it to his son because his son's doing the social media for, what was it, James River Archery?
James River Archery.
Yeah, down in Springfield. Give him a follow.
Phenomenal archery shop.
Yeah.
Give them a follow. They are awesome. Chris and the guys, Matthews, huge. Great shop.
So check it out.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
I think that's all.
Thank you,
Till
buddy.
next time.
And where we're off to tonight.
Morgan Wallen, right?
Wasted on you.
I know no songs from that.
You'll
just
find
seems
out.
like he's a good guy.
You'll find out. Next week, we're going to have one of Mark's farm managers, Perry Batten, on with us. So
Perry's
make
the
sure
man.
you
I got a
join
pretty
in.
funny story about Perry's, and I think we're gonna like to dig into
Parents
this
is
one.
going to get.
It has a expensive. It was expensive. This story is
Wait.
expensive. All right.
Can't wait. Be sure to tune in.
All right. Till
See ya.
next time. Peace out.
Thank you.
DeerCast is now supercharged with maps. Get ahead of your game with killer new features like live Doppler radar, wind check out to 5 days, virtual rain gauges, GPS path tracking, and more. Plus, get our 14-day revolutionary DeerCast prediction and access to DeerCast Track. Prep, predict, and pursue with DeerCast.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by DeerCast. Prep, predict, and pursue your target buck.